I'm doing a count. I'm doing roll call. I don't have to do it out loud because guess what? I see your face and your name next to you. So I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, yeah, I can go across 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's supposed to be 23 people in this room, but and I count for two. So um we're just gonna let everybody check in and hopefully look at all these faces. Oh, well, see, there's some two people in a room, so that really is gonna throw me off. Huh, anyway, it's all good. I won't even bother because it's too much for my head. But I appreciate everybody who's joining live and those of you that are going to join on the recording later. Just always remember if you're in this room live, mind your words.
Are
We're
we
being
recording?
recorded. We're being recorded. I am. Thanks for
Okay.
reminding me, but it says I'm recording. Yes, it does.
All right.
So good. So guess what? We're here to start our journey of a little bit of education in the process of what we're offering and what we're inviting you to offer. Everything we're doing is an invitation, right? It's always coming back to one of the phrases we came up with in a meeting a while back, mind your business. But a part of minding your business is offering you a package that is really going to be sustainable um, to build a value ladder that is going to give you product that you are supplied by us from which you can take and teach in your spaces or online. And so the parameters for that are, as I've been talking to some of you, and I know most of you, if you haven't already booked your affiliate onboarding call, the link is on the portal somewhere. I don't know where. Just schedule it over the next couple of weeks. I know the class is filled up pretty quickly, but you know what? As long as it's done by June, you'll be fine. Anyway, coming into this space with that in mind is I'm meeting everyone where they are, and those meetings really help get some clarity for me so far already, and I know there's a lot more to come. So with that, I want to make sure we're all present for this meeting, all present and counted for, and with an open mind and an open heart. As we move through this, I'm going to move through the structure of what we're offering in the workshop package, and then I'm going to guide you through a almost a little bit abbreviated version of what a mindful eating workshop would look like, right? Because it's really set up for a 90-minute, but I'm not going to do 90 minutes because I don't need to do the introductions. We don't need to do the intention setting piece. I know your intentions and I know who you are, and I'll remember. Anyway, so we're going to move through that so that you're not here for 2 hours. But to begin, let's check in with ourselves and make sure we are set up for success with this. So taking a comfortable breath, settle down into your body, and you know how this works. Tune into yourself with an open mind and an open heart, meeting each other where we are to hold space as a community, to discover something new, maybe something old, and to build that bridge to move forward. So, taking a nice deep breath, exhale nice and slow and easy, and welcome to the future. When you're ready, open your eyes. So, as we were joking about a little earlier, there's two of me in this room. There's one over here and there's one up there. I'm doing that because one screen's recording the screen and one screen's recording the audio. So I know Zoom does that, but I just want to make sure it's right. And I can also see when I share the screen. And if you don't know me by now, I hate sharing my screen because I always seem to mess it up. So this way I can see if I share my screen and it's right. I don't know. I'm pretty good with technology, but sometimes there's these little triggers and that sharing the screen, I messed it up so many times in the years that have passed that I hesitated. So that's why I have a screen up here and a screen down here. So depending on how I feel, I'm going to be looking at two screens. So then I'm going to get really confused and we'll see how this goes. But mostly I want to have a discussion first off on the series itself, the series of education. You know that there's three scheduled. This is the first one. This one is specifically focused on workshops, the workshops that we're going to offer for you to share in your community or over Zoom or however you choose to present that. The one we're going to do next month is focused on courses, which you'll see some crossover, like this mindful eating workshop can be presented as a 90-minute to 2 hour workshop. And I know that you'll see the stuff on the portal that says 90 minutes, but we also have to, the 90 minutes is the active part of the workshop. I would probably offer it as a 2 hour workshop because you do want to have that time to ground people in the space, to do some introductions, maybe do intention setting. Depending on the size of your class, that could take 10, 15, 20 minutes. And then you want to have some time at the end for questions and answers and other things. So it's probably more like a 2 hour workshop, but it's laid out in the course as a 90-minute workshop, if that makes sense. But so the mindful eating piece can be what can be presented as a 2 hour workshop, but there's also a version that could be a 6 to 8 week course. There's a connection between the two because you could offer it as a 2 hour workshop, but then at the end of it, more than likely, those who are in attendance are going to want to say, I want more. Well, guess what? Starting next week, we're going to move into a 6 to 8 week program that's going to be done. And again, it doesn't have to be done in person. It can be done online. It could be done in the same way we do SVMT. And all of this stuff's on the portal, which I'll show you, I hope, if I can share the screen right in a little bit. So there's a correlation between the two. Some of them, there's only the coursework is set up as a 6 to 8 week program, and it's not really a workshop. The two together really are a great foundational piece to build your community if you don't already have one, to build your practice, to build your business, to build a following, whatever you want to call it. They're really great. I see them as gateways. When I first started and opened my studio in Florida so many years ago, this was these opportunities to get people in the door, to get a connection to my voice and my intention and to build rapport. And that's how you build your tribe, right? And then the next thing you offer another workshop and you offer another workshop and continue these series of workshops, people will continue to come back. And then eventually, like, I'll just do the whole thing, Bill. Just sign me up for everything you've ever done. And welcome to the screen because you're all here. Anyway, but that's really one of the foundational pieces. It's also a great introduction for those who might be wanting to come in and take a bigger course from you, which is going to be the third meetup that we have. I think, what are we in? April, May, June, in June, which is really going to talk about the pieces of the certification process. In these workshops, I'm going to talk about what the portal's offering you and the tools that are there for you or will be there for you. We're going to talk about some of the layouts and some of the opportunities to really connect and build that practice. But these workshops and then the courses can help support the space of setting up certifications. So somebody in your area might be thinking about, oh, I really kind of want to study sound, but I'm not quite sure I want to take it from Orlando, right? Well, they see that you have a mindful eating workshop. I'm going to go sit in that mindful eating workshop. The investment is much less than that course is, and that gives you that opportunity to really make that connection because all of you have this passion for what you do, and it's difficult to put that out in an advertising for a sound therapy certification, right? So there's an opportunity to build rapport there. And then having this opportunity to do, if you have the space to do it, in person, but also online opportunities to teach these workshops. And there's no limitation. You can do it that way, um, or do both, right? Then you can connect to people who might not be close by to you, but really do want to travel to somewhere and take your class, right? So this is part of the value ladder that I hope you can envision and how they're laying out. So overall, that's the flow of our next three educational practices that we have here. But today I'm going to do my best to stay focused on the workshop perspective. And the workshops that are laid out, again, are going to be basically 90 to 120-minute workshops. There's probably one or two that could be extended out to 3 hours. For instance, a workshop on being with grief, because in that space, when you're holding space for another, you'll find a lot of people who are really want to have some sharing opportunities, some circle conversations. In the timing of these workshops, the scripts don't really leave a lot of time for open collaboration communication. And you've all been in classes before that, sometimes even in our sound trainings, right? We put in there that the introduction and the intention setting is going to take about an hour. But we've been in classes where that takes 2 hours because people tell their whole life story. And it's a beautiful thing to open up that way. And I encourage it every single time. But then some classes will have 14 people in there and they'll just say, hey, my name's Bill. I'm from California and my intention is to breathe, right? Next, next, next. And you get done in 20 minutes, right? So you have that flexibility within these to meet people where they are. Everything I'm showing you is not rigid. It's not like you have to do it this way, you have to do it this way. They're all suggestions, but I'm creating scripts for all of these workshops for you to sit with and just to understand the flow. And then once you've done it and once you've connected to it, of course, take that script and set it aside. Have it there to support you if you get stuck or lost, but no, you don't have to follow the script. Also, you'll see that the documents, so for the mindful eating workshop itself, there's a manual, workbook really. So for the 90-minute to 2 hour mindful eating workshop, It's about a 12-page workbook. It's just a very simple workbook that you would have a PDF link to that you could print out and hand out to your students, right? You can print it out yourself. You can send it to FedEx Kinko, have them print it out. It's offered in, you can do it in color, black or white, but it doesn't matter. So those workbooks, while they are branded, so they do have the Meditate logo in the background, and it does say it's a copyright. You all as affiliates, and you'll see it in your agreement later when we actually finalize the agreements before the live date in August. It gives you the right to print and copy and duplicate the things that you're authorized to teach. So don't get stuck in that. What that does is it keeps somebody from coming into your class, taking that workbook, duplicating it, and doing another workshop. So I don't know. There's not the copyright police out there looking for this, but it kind of gives that opportunity. So don't get stuck in that and saying, but the only parameter in that is you can't take up, don't remove the watermarks. And I don't think any of you will ever do that, but the watermarks are in the background of the text and just don't remove them because that violates the affiliate agreement that we'll have later. Anyway, so that's part of the legality piece of it right there. Whew. Slow down, Bill. Slow down. You're moving too fast. But overall, I'm going to share my screen real quick and hopefully this works out well. Let's see. How about this one? I think that worked. So within this, so this is a version of the mindful eating workshop. So what you'll see on the left side over here, you should have gotten invited into these sections over here. This is your affiliate teacher portal. And within this section, you'll start to see it get populated with more and more material. It's going to be a lot, but it's all useful. Hopefully it's all useful stuff. I wouldn't put it in there if not. So there is this one that says affiliate workshops portal. If you're on this space and you don't see it on yours, just send me a chat in the chat feature. I try to make sure Sherry and I make sure we try to invite everybody into it because you have to be invited into each and every one of them because they are protected. If you're not in it, just shoot me a message and I'll make sure you're in that. But once you open this affiliate workshop portal, what you're going to see is a list of all the workshops we're offering. And so from here, you'll see, and there's going to be a few more. So we're going to work on the mindful eating one. But when you're not using it, of course, you can, wow, my screen's slow. It gets slow when you're doing it this way. You can collapse it down. Oh, um, anyway. But so let's stay with this mindful eating one. So what you're going to see in this mindful eating one is all the lessons from which you can learn about mindful eating. For those of you in SVMT, it's actually part of it now, but those of you who are pre-group number 9, you've never seen this stuff before because it was added into group number 9. It's actually two modules within the updated SVMT module, but all the lessons are here for you to go through. If you're going through SVMT, you'll get to it later in the programming, but just know that the lessons are here for you to lean into. There are going to be versions of, well, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. So here we go. So there's all this information here, and then there's going to be the scripts, right? So here's a different script for the workshop, and you'll see all of this material here. It's all yours to study with and then take and print and lead your sessions with. So there'll be scripts, there'll be meditations, there'll be more and more and more. So that's all that. Eventually, you're going to see the affiliate course portal on the left side, and then you're going to see the affiliate certification portal, and those are going to have all the information that you need for these teachings. Okay. Whew. That was scary, but we did it. Anyway, so all that information is going to be there. And ultimately, then there's going to be a section for students. And the student portal is going to look like what you already have. And that portal will be filled with workshops. It'll be filled with the courses. And that's where you have an invitation. It's not an obligation to invite your students into the workshop portal. And the workshop portal is going to have the lessons that align with what you're going to teach in the workshop. It's going to have homework assignment. So let's just say you're doing this mindful eating workshop, and then there is a 7-day tracking program for your students who attend your workshop to track their mindful eating progress through a 7 or 10-day practice, right? There's also lessons, additional lessons that aren't part of your workshop that they can tap into. And then there's some meditations or some practices for them to do as homework. So within the workshop, all this material is there for you. All the lessons, all the scripts, all the worksheets, it's all there for you. And so my intention, again, is not having you as affiliates have to create your own workshops, although I support you in that. And but here you're not starting from scratch because it's a lot of work. And then to have the backup material of the portal with meditations and worksheets and all that. Why start from scratch when you can take something and use it that's already pre-made for you? Now, that's not saying you don't take this mindful eating workshop and say, I want to add this to it or add that to it. It's your business, right? The only things you can't change is the requirements within the certification courses, but within the workshops, take it, make it your own. Um, but there's so much there, so much material there. So multiply that out by the other 10 workshops that we're offering in the workshop section. Perhaps during the year ahead, once we get past this affiliate launch, once we get past the fascia wave launch, once all the manuals are created and everything's in place, we might add a couple more workshops during the year. Might is a big question, but there's many more in the works, and the intention comes back to, do we release those once a year or whatever? We'll see how that works out. But for now, we'll start with that because, again, addition, we're going to have the courses that will help facilitate that. Whew. Now, getting back to the affiliate program, and those of you who are on a call with me this week, I already shared this with you, but I'll share it with the rest of the group because this is already a shift from what we talked about just a few days ago because of our tech guy working in this space and creating what we are now calling our affiliate teacher system. We were calling it a directory, but it's so much more than a directory because of all the things he's adding into it. Well, one of the things I want to share, and it relates to this specifically, or the courses specifically, by the end of this month, or at the latest May 1st, you're going to get, as an affiliate, you're going to get an invitation to the affiliate teacher system. The system is really directed by you. You get a link with a temporary password. Once you get into it, you set your own password, and what that's going to let you do is build your page. Your affiliate page is a landing page within our system that is in our directory of affiliates, and it's also within our scheduling platform. It's all there. It's directed by you. You put whatever you want in there, although we know how that works. Anyway, there are some things you don't want to put in there, but also, but with there you can put your bio in there. You can talk about what your experience is or what your passion is. It's all yours. Then there's this on the right-hand side of that affiliate landing page is all your contact information. You'll probably want to put a picture because everybody wants to see your beautiful faces. Nobody wants to book a program with just a KC as your initials as the image, right? So put your picture, or you can put multiple pictures. You can put pictures of your dogs, of your kids. Hmm. Anyway, then underneath that is all your contact information. You can also fill in, if you feel called to, your qualifications. All that stuff could be there. At the bottom of your landing page, and these things might move because he's still in development, is going to be your schedule of events. And it's up to you to populate that. You can put in your workshops, you can put in your courses, you can put in your certifications. That scheduler is going to be connected to our main page schedule. Now, the only thing we're not putting on our main page schedule is everybody's workshops and courses, because that would be an overwhelming schedule with 32 people hosting workshops and courses all over the country. On our schedule, it's going to show us the certification classes, the practitioner of sound, practitioner of vibration, and fascia wave and yoga nidra. Um, but on your landing page, there's the scheduler at the bottom. And I encourage you to put every workshop that you're hosting in there and all this stuff because somebody might come across Kate and like I read Kate's page and like look at all the things she's offering in her space or online. And so that's really how you can build that. For those of you that don't have a website, you don't even need a website with this, right? But those of you that do, it is going to be it can be integrated into your website and he'll talk through the steps on how to do that. It can just lead people to your website directly, or it can be a page on your website or whatever that might happen. One more thing I will share here, and it's not, this is a mind your business thing, but Our tech guy, his name is Haven. We put a little write up on the affiliate page about this the other day, but I'll state it here. If you're starting out and you don't already have a booking program that you think will work with the certification courses or workshops or whatever it is, he's offering you guys an integrated booking system that is directed by you. It's totally yours. It has nothing to do with us. We can't even see it. But in that booking system, people can click through to book your course. And from in there, you can set up how you want to take your payments. It can be all the credit cards, it can be Venmo and PayPal and all the things that you can do. So it's within that you can set up. There's also, he's adding in perspective on it's a site called Klarna, which is a finance company that really it can be very useful for your students who are coming in to take a $795 class, but they don't have $795, so they can click into Klarna and Klarna can finance their tuition. The best part about that for you, because our payment plan within our school is we do that ourselves. We take your deposit and we spread it out over how many months it is. That's a big ask for somebody who's just starting a business and saying, okay, I'll take $300 and trust these people will pay me in the future. The best part about Klarna is that you get your money. It's up to Klarna to collect the additional payments after that. So it's an opportunity, it's an invitation. If you're just starting out to do it that way. If you already have a booking program, guess what? That's perfectly fine. Um, uh, Janine's question, is that part of the affiliate program? It is an offering within the affiliate program, but we have nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing, because it is not something we want. We don't want to get involved in your bookings or your money or where your money goes or anything about that. That's your space. It's probably going to have a fee attached to it because nobody does these things for free, right? Nobody's going to offer you a booking program that's free. So perhaps it's a percentage, which is probably going to use whatever it is. Within that system, though, and most systems that you do offer this, is you can even either have those credit card fees and fees included, and the client pays for it, the student pays for it, or you eat the cost of that. So that's an option that comes down that. It's not, yeah, I have no idea what what the fees are on that. Again, it's an opportunity because there's so many booking programs out there, right? That have so many different bells and whistles. The benefit of this, it's right there for you, and it's integrated with the scheduling system and the directory. Yeah. Fiona.
Just a quick question. So do we contact Klarna, not Klarna, Haven directly
Yeah.
about fees and getting all that set up, or is that something to consider doing down the line?
You can consider doing it down the line. It depends on when you want to start offering your classes, right? So there is that recognition that the sooner you start putting a schedule out there, but again, our schedule is not going to even be very live until the 1st of May, but that's coming up pretty quick. I just turn around and it's like, oh my gosh, we're in the 4th day of April. It just seemed like anyway. But you do have to contact Haven. We're
Okay.
not involved in that process. So it's one of those things that he offered it. And at first we're like, we don't want to have anything to do with that because one of our intentions really is for you guys to have your business. But it's not something we had to get involved in. When he first presented it to us, like, you guys could take all the collections and you distribute the money. He's like, absolutely not. No, thank you. Um, we don't need more work. But and what it is self-contained, and within that, you weigh the benefits, the pros and cons of the cost of that. And again, I don't know what it is. Is it a monthly fee? Is it an annual fee? Is it a percentage? Talk to Haven, and Haven's contact information is there on the portal if you feel called to. If not,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. It's your practice. So here we are. Whew. Workshops. Let's get back to the workshops. So what I'm going to present to you today is a version of a workshop that, again, you could do online or in person. Uh, I guess about 6 weeks ago, I sat looking over some of our old coursework that we used to offer in our studio. And again, those of you that are in group 9, I presented a lot of those programs to you in that. And those of you that are in group 10, 11, and the future, the 12 that starts this month, it's going to be part of your SVMT journey. One of them is a perspective on MBSR, which is mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is the first mindfulness course I ever got certified to teach. And I did it for a couple of years, which then eventually I turned it into my own course that we called Mastery of Mindfulness, that took the MBSR perspective, but made it a little bit more modern and less rigid, because I am you haven't figured me out now by now. I don't like being so rigid. So then we created the Mastery of Mindfulness, which some of you guys took. Deb took it, um, and then eventually grew into SVMT. So I presented the MBSR within the framework of group number 9, showing how, and that was a 3-month course. It was a 3-month course that is going to be presented next month when I show you the coursework. So then I also look through the workshops on, and mindful eating used to be part of the MBSR Mastery of Mindfulness program. And as I sat with it and read through it, at first I was like, this is probably a little bit outdated, but then I'm like, no, it's not. Because if you're when you're on this journey of recognizing part of our practice in SVMT, the T is really an important perspective of our work. Understanding that trance isn't about just leading hypnotherapy. And for those of you that haven't gotten to the lessons on trance work yet, we're not just teaching scripts on how to hypnotize somebody. We're starting to realize and teaching how a lot of people are stuck in a trance, the trance of grief, the trance of repetitive behavior, the trance of I'm not good enough, the trance of I have to sit in front of the TV and eat, or the trance of I'm always scrolling while I'm snacking, right? All those trance spaces are, once we bring them into awareness, then we allow ourselves to see what they are, then we can accept that perhaps this is the problem, right? So we can, so as I looked through all those workshops, I saw this one, and the way I presented it in group 9 and rewrote the program, it really is an awakening to the habitual life that we lead. And in the teaching and in the recognition of how we call things through our life, we call oftentimes people are stuck on autopilot, wash, rinse, repeat. We're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Well, that is a trance in the mind. That's those neural pathways that always follow the same path that says, this is how I wake up in the morning and I have my cup of coffee and I take my shower and I brush my teeth and all, whatever order that happens in. There's a reason it happens because it moves us into a space of conserving our energy. We don't have to think about how to put the toothpaste on the tooth. It just happens on how to button my shirt, those things that are so autopilot. But there is a trance involved there because everything's involved in a neural pathway. Well, the mindful eating perspective awakens our clients and ourselves to the real habits that we have in something we've been doing our whole life and we will do all of our life ahead, eating. The habits of how we are filling ourselves. And most of what we do, and most of the people that are stuck in the trance space are eating for comfort, not for need, eating to dim the pain, eating out of habit, eating out of perspective of I have to do this because I'm so stressed. I need to reach for this thing because I'm so overwhelmed. I need to reach for this because my job is just so friggin' boring, right? All those different things that happen. And so mindful eating and the perspective that we take here takes a step back to look at it and say, why am I doing this? Why? Because unless we bring it into awareness, we can never change it. Mindful eating is such a bridge to if you want to work in the addiction space. And addiction isn't just about drinking or alcohol, or drinking is alcohol, drugs, or the other things that are deemed as bad addictions, and they are. But a lot of the addictions that we have, the limiting beliefs and stuff, are also bad. Um, but we are addictive. We have addictive personalities. That's what we were meant to do, right? Those neural pathways that are built again. So again, I have an addiction on how I button my shirt. I have an addiction about how I brush my teeth. Habits, autopilot, right? So the eating perspective is such an autopilot awakening, and it's such a bridge, and it's such an opportunity for us. And if you were thinking about starting with one workshop, I think the mindful eating perspective is such an aha moment for people because of how we move through the different aspects of the habits of our eating. So I'm setting the foundation for this so that you understand the why behind this practice. And so within the mindful eating workshop program that is offered to you, there is a script. And again, the script is there for you to follow along and take it on your own. So the workshop itself has these parameters that we invite in our students, and we provide these things for them. An orange or a tangerine, and it can be this size, it can be small, it can be whatever it could be. Um, a small bag of potato chips, what I would usually do is find a Lay's or like rippled potato chip or something, right? It doesn't matter. And what I would usually do in that mindful eating workshop is I'd have a little plate and I'd have the tangerine or the orange, I'd have a couple of potato chips, and then I'd have the dark chocolate. I wouldn't usually give them a big one like this because that's too expensive. I would break it into little pieces and just give them a square because we're only going to use one little square in the process, right? But hey, I was at Trader Joe's yesterday and I was like, ooh, that looks really good. Anyway, but the perspective of those three things, if you think about the difference between those three things, how this is generally all natural and filled with goodness. The potato chip itself, while it is a potato, the way it's created, depending on how it's made, is it still a potato? I don't know. We'll talk about that later. And then the dark chocolate and how, and then the different sensations that come from these three things really help set um, a perspective, right? So in the setup of the workshop, it says right there on the script, have the tangerine, have the small bag of potato chips or some potato chips, have a couple of squares of dark chocolate, give them a bottle of water or a cup of water, a napkin and a plate, and their workbook. From there, we move into why are we doing it this way? And we always come into this work with the invitation, right? I'm not going to force somebody to eat a potato chip. I'm not going to force somebody to eat chocolate. But it's not just about putting it in your mouth. It's we're awakening the senses. So I invite them to go up to the point where they feel comfortable. It's always that invitation. So, but ultimately, this workshop and the way we want to present it isn't a lesson in perfect eating. It's about the recognition of choice. It's about awakening choice, which is a huge piece of our SVMT journey, right? Getting back into that space where we can take that sacred pause before we choose to give that person a piece of our mind, or before we choose to follow this path that I don't want to follow again. So it's restoring choice. And ultimately, it is a somatic practice because it builds trust back in paying attention to the body when we do this work. So, as we move forward in this, a few agreements I want to talk with you about. Everything we're doing here is invitational. Nobody's judging, nobody's questioning. It's an invitation. If anything feels uncomfortable, don't do it. If I ask you to close your eyes and you're not comfortable closing your eyes because Danielle and Caitlin are together and Caitlin's probably going to pinch Danielle or something. And so she's like, I'm not closing my eyes. So don't close your eyes, right? You're in a room full of people you don't know. I'm not going to close my eyes because I don't know these people. Let it always be the invitation. Isn't that a big lesson in our SVMT method? Is it's always invitational. We don't want to command or demand anything. And hmm, if it goes too fast for you, take a breath and slow down. The other thing we don't do in this mindful eating work, and I encourage you not to advertise it or push it as a dietary idea. This isn't about diet. This is about restoring choice. And we don't want to identify food as good or bad. We don't use good or bad language here. We use it is what it is language. We're practicing awareness, not judgment because somebody might really have a connection to what we're identifying as bad, and all of a sudden they're going to resist and it's like, you can't tell me this is what I need. And so we don't want to disconnect from that. We want them to make that choice. So we're practicing awareness, not judgment. And along the way, when we're holding this space for a class, if at any point, and I would encourage them to say, if any shame starts to arise, recognize that's not a problem, that's a cue. If there's resistance in your body and it starts to tighten up, we don't resist it. We recognize it and say, there's a cue here. What does this mean for me now? And the cues are where the spiral can change direction. That's where we can say, this is happening for a reason. You're being moved into an emotional state for a reason. If we pay attention somatically, your body's telling you, I don't need this or I don't want this, or this isn't right for me. Or it might be pushing something else. I really need this. I really need this. I need more of this. I need more of this. And that's the recognition that we've trained ourselves into that space to have more, but do we really? And then we build that bridge back as like, wait, can I come back to my breath? Can I pick up my glass of water and break the cycle of need, right? So ultimately, we come into this space in the work of mindful eating, most people think mindful eating is about willpower, but most eating patterns have nothing to do with willpower. They have everything to do with trance, not mystical trance, but everyday trance. the kind that happens when we're scrolling while we're chewing, the kind that happens when we're standing at the corner having a conversation with somebody while we're putting food into our mouth. Not even taking the time to taste the first bite and ask, do I need this now? Or finishing something and thinking, how many times have you done this? You finished eating that thing and you're like, where did it even go? I didn't even taste it. It's just gone, right? That's autopilot. And here's the most important part. Autopilot isn't a character flaw, and we want to make sure we hold space for that. Autopilot is a nervous system strategy because this autopilot eating makes me feel safe. This bowl of ice cream comforted me when I was a child, and for some reason, I still think it does as an adult. This thing, this cookie that I had to have, reminded me of a time I was rewarded as a child. So I'm going to reward myself by eating this cookie, even though I have no desire for it. So instead of asking what's wrong with me, we move back into the space. Why is my nervous system moving me into this space? Or what is my nervous system trying to do for me to make me feel safe, to make me feel this or that, right? So we come back into that question, why? Because very often the urge to eat is not only hunger, sometimes it's relief or comfort or stimulation or numbing or reward or a soft landing after a very difficult day, right? Sometimes it comes into that. Well, in SVMT, we don't shame those things. We bring it into awareness. We respect it and we recognize with that, it widens the options. Instead of shutting down into shame and saying there's something wrong with me, we come back and say, what does this mean for me? And what can I do differently? It's about restoring choice. And choice returns through one thing, a pause, that sacred pause, which we're going to call in this practice a sacred pause before the first bite, right? And that pause isn't punishment. The pause is the moment where we can return to the body before our body reaches for the strategy, for that next potato chip or that next bite of the cookie, right? So we're going to do this with, again, those three options that I asked you to bring. If you did it, great. If not, just watch. Your mouth's going to water. Um, the tangerine. The tangerine is going to teach us how to, or orange, whatever you got. It teaches us how to receive slowly, and it's going to be a true somatic experience because we're going to connect not only to how it tastes, we're going to connect to how it feels, to how it smells, to how it to the weight of it and the color of it. So every sense is going to be awakened here. The chip is going to teach us the urgency, that need for something salty or crunchy. And crunchiness is a trance that we fall into that trance and we choose something that's crunchy and it triggers in our ears. Ooh, this is crunchy and comforting, right? That also, the potato chip is one of the biggest pieces that we can say how autopilot hijacks choice. Because you open that bag of potato chips or the bag of popcorn or the thing that is filled with salt, and it's absolutely manufactured to keep you engaged in eating and eating and eating. And then the next thing you've done, you finished eating that bag. It is specifically salted perfectly to keep you in that trance space, right? The dark chocolate is going to teach us the difference between pleasure and trance and how satisfaction changes when we slow down. And slowing down while eating a piece of chocolate, just wait. If you haven't done it in a while, it's going to be pretty eye-opening. And mostly as we go through this, I want you to hear this clearly. This is not about eating perfectly. This is about noticing. This is about awakening choice. Because when we notice, we can choose. And when we choose, the spiral of a life starts to change direction. The mindful eating perspective can show you the whole SVMT in one method, one workshop. So why'd I take the 12-month program, Bill? Well, no, there's still more to it than that, but it can show you the opportunity of choice and how we can take that spiral from spiraling to spiraling and recognizing that this is how it should be. Instead of going this way, we go this way and come back this way. So here's the simple map. And this map is on the portal and you'll see it in the simple map is paying attention to the cue. The cue is what starts it. What starts the habit? Oftentimes, what is the one cue that habits most often is time. It's time for me to have a snack. It's time for me to eat this now. It's time, time, time. That's the first cue. One of the other cues is place. I think in a lot of ways, and I could see it. I could see it in the past couple of years as Brian and I were on the road traveling across the country. The place was being in the truck, driving across the country, pulling a trailer, and I have to calm myself by eating this bag of popcorn, right? That's a place. Or the place could just be whatever it is. It could be an emotion, it could be a body state. That's the cue. That's the first thing. The second piece of the map is the state, how the system feels. Am I feeling stressed or busy or rushed? Am I feeling lonely or tired or flat or wired? That's the state. The third piece is the story. The story is the sentence that we tell ourselves. I need this. I need this relief. I deserve this. Or it's time for me to do this now. That's the sentence. And often the sentence is where the trance gets reinforced. The fourth piece is the strategy. And this is where we connect to the behavior. Is the strategy or the behavior to numb, to ease the pain, to snack because I'm craving something salty or something crunchy? Is it to just rush because I'm rushing from one place to another, so I need to rush and eat? And because I'm eating so fast, I'm not paying attention to the sensation of my body telling me I'm full. Hmm. And then we move to the last piece in our map is after. This is important in our work. What do most people feel after they finish that bag of potato chips, or they ate that whole bowl of ice cream, or that whole slice of that chocolate cake that was way too big, but boy, I finished it, right? Or that whatever it might be. The after effect, it's usually shame, heaviness, numbness. I shouldn't have done this. I feel like I'm a loser. Sometimes it's just relief. I felt relief because I ate that bowl of ice cream, right? So that's the strategy map. And recognize we're not judging in this map. We're bringing things into awareness because we're learning where to intervene. Where can we break the cycle? And we can break that cycle in any one of those steps. But the best place to break it is at the cue, at the very first step. And how do we do that? With a pause, with a simple little pause. So before we move on, I invite you all to take a moment and think about, and again, this isn't a judgment. Just take a few minutes and remember a recent autopilot eating moment, somewhere along the way that you found yourself just eating something for no apparent reason. And don't think about it with shame, but think about it like you're watching a movie, as if you're watching a movie of yourself eating that bowl of ice cream or eating that bag of chips or whatever it might be, right? And it doesn't even have to be something like that because all of a sudden, the way I just said that, you kind of think the bowl of ice cream or the chips are the bad thing. We're not identifying it as bad or good. Maybe it was a salad that was giant salad. And you ate the whole salad, right? Whatever it might be. And then the question would come in, what was the cue? What state were you in? What story were you stuck in? And what did the strategy promise you? Did it promise you comfort or relief? Did it promise you an opportunity to disconnect from the busyness? And when we can do that and we can pause like that, we can let a new sentence come in. And as we find ourselves doing that again in the future, we can remind ourselves that I can pause. I can take that bite, put it in my mouth, set the spoon or fork down, and pause and pay attention to the sensations and ask, do I need it again? And this is where we begin. This is the arrival of the practice. So, right where you are, I invite you to just settle down into your body. We're going to arrive into this practice with an open mind and an open heart, even deeper than we had already. And if you can, close your eyes and feel the support beneath you. Inhaling nice and slow. And one of the nervous system triggers that we lean into is oftentimes when we take an inhale and we exhale a little bit slower, it's reminding the nervous system to slow down. So see if you can do that again. Taking in a nice inhale and exhaling a little bit slower. And then the next time you do that, I invite you to soften your jaw, to soften the tongue, to soften the belly, and then to place a hand on your tummy. And as you think about this energy, know that you can use this as a practice. As you place your hand on your tummy, you feel that connection, and you can ask a simple question. Am I really hungry, or am I seeking regulation? Am I really hungry, or do I need to ease the pain? Am I really hungry, or do I need to disconnect from the busyness? And then the cue could be here. I can pause and choose, or I'm ready to listen to my body rather than my mind. And then taking a nice deep breath. Exhale nice and easy. And think about how you feel now as you open your eyes. Imagine taking a moment like that before you move to that lunch break or before you move to that choice, before you walk to the kitchen to fill up a bowl of ice cream. Taking that pause and coming back into it's going to allow you to recognize that you always have a choice, always. But the autopilot often takes over because we're not taking that pause. We're not paying attention to the cues. And the hand on the tummy is one of the best connections that we can have because often a hunger signal is sorrow, sadness, or pain, or loneliness, or all these other things. But sometimes hunger is just hunger. So we need to come into the correlation between the two. But oftentimes hunger gets taken care of much quicker than we accept it to. So we come back to that. So we're going to start right here with the very first sensory awareness practice, the tangerine or the orange. And it doesn't matter which one you have. And if you don't have one, I want you to awaken that amazing, amazing imagination. You all have one, believe it or not, you do. So if you have one, hold it up. Let me see. Wow, look at all those tangerines. The tangerine makers are very happy with us because we followed that cue. Hmm. If you don't, it's all good. Crystal, how many do you have? Share them with others.
Huh. I cut it up in advance so that I would be ready.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's okay. It's okay. We're not judging. It's part of the practice. You still does it still have the skin on it? Oh,
Yes.
okay, then that's okay. All right, good. Then you're fine. No, not really, but you don't have
You can always go
anyway.
in the kitchen and get another one.
Yes, but you don't have to you have the cut up one. So when we get to that point of tasting, leave the but part of this is the visualization of the whole one. So I'll give you a second to run and grab one if you want. If you don't have a tangerine, but you have an apple or something else, you could use that as well. Um, whatever. You can use your hand. Pretend like this is your tangerine. Just don't bite into it. But we're going to start right here as soon as Crystal gets back. So the tangerine and our perspective with the tangerine is it reminds us, or it teaches the nervous system how to receive. And this sensory awakening isn't a performance. Don't try to force something that you don't discover. As I say, pay attention to how this tastes or smells or feels. So when we come into this, it's about sensory awakening. And this is one of the best practices to do that with when we come into this practice. So I'm going to ask you first to pick up your tangerine or your imaginary tangerine and just hold it in your hand. Just hold it and feel the weight of it. And just look at it. Look at the color of it. Notice the different colorations. If yours still has a little bit of a stem on it, see that stem and recognize that used to connect it to the tree, and the tree connected to the trunk, and the trunk connected to the roots. So that stem isn't just a stem that held it to the tree. That stem connected this piece of fruit to the earth itself, from which it's got its nutrients, right? This piece of the stem, it started out as a little blossom, an orange blossom or tangerine blossom that turned into this beautiful fruit. So while it is quite beautiful, it wasn't manufactured anywhere except in nature, right? So if you look at it, notice the shape, and every little shape is going to be different. Notice the texture by running your fingers across the skin and feel it. What is there? It's a little waxy, but it's also lumpy. Lumpy. They're tiny little pores, right? You can see those tiny little pores. Now, bring it to your nose and smell it. And what do you notice right there? Maybe it doesn't smell like much, but there is a scent there. Maybe it's earthy or fresh, or maybe it's been polished so much in the grocer that it doesn't have much scent to it, but it's okay. We're going to notice the difference. And once you're ready, and you can do that, think about how you're going to peel it, but don't go too fast. Find that spot that you're going to peel it and just break it open. Don't just feel that skin tear a little bit and just peel it back and listen to the sound of it. And then once you've got it open just a little bit, now smell it. Take in that nice deep breath. Feel the sensations of your body as you do that. Think about how your body changed. That's a true connection somatically to that scent that your body knows this is goodness, right? So then take your time and just peel it. Pay attention to the sensation, to pay attention to the sounds. Look at all those white membranes that are there. What does it remind you of? Fascia, right? You can see that and just continue to peel it and peel it. And if you're good, you could peel it into just one peel. But that wasn't one of the requirements, right? Then when you get it done, look at the inside of that peel. See that white? Smell it again and rub your fingers across it. Think about the oils that are there. And then I'm going to invite you to take that piece right there and hold it in your hand now. Feel the difference in the weight. Run your fingers across the surface. Feel that difference. And then I'm going to ask you to remove one segment, just one little segment, and set the other piece down. And look at that little package right there. That perfect little package of goodness. How did nature create that? The juice isn't dripping out of it unless you broke it. It's being held and waiting for you, right? Smell it again. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to do this, but don't do it yet. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and take that first bite. So go ahead and close your eyes. And when you take that bite, notice the flavor on your tongue. Chew it really slow. Let the flavor develop. Just continue to chew. Notice the flavors that are there. Sweetness, bitterness. Notice the crunch as you chew. And then when you're ready, no rush. Chew it nice and good. And then just swallow if you haven't already. Notice the swallow as it moves down through your throat, all the way down into your tummy. And pause for a moment. Think about how your body feels. Notice what's there now. Take in a nice, comfortable breath. And exhale nice and slow. And just pause now. Notice what you can smell. You can still smell that tangerine, right? Notice what happened after the swallow. And then ask yourself now, do I need another bite? Yes or no? There's no good or wrong. There's no wrong or right. And if you need another bite, take another bite because it's delicious. But you have the choice to leave it or continue to eat it. But every time you eat it that way, you want to ask that question before you take the next piece. Do I need another piece? And I wonder how many of you will reach a point where I need to finish this because if I don't finish it, it's going to go bad. If I don't finish this, then I'm going to waste food. Huh. Think about that cue right there. That was ingrained in so many of us when we were growing up. You have to finish your plate, right? You can't waste food. But I raise this question now. At what point do we say enough? And what's the difference between keep shoveling food into our mouth or throwing it away? It's all waste anyway. Our body doesn't need it. So aren't I wasting it by continuing to eat it? I'm not here to answer that question. It's a good question though, right? And that breaks the cycle of that parent or that grandparent or whoever it was that would say, I remember my stepdad used to say, you know what? There's starving kids in China. Okay. So me finishing this plate is going to help that starving kid in China? I don't know. It doesn't make logical sense to me as an adult, but as a kid, I was ingrained to finish my plate. So when we come into this practice, the debrief that we would have with our students is, what did you notice that you don't usually notice when you ate that tangerine? Oftentimes the answer is going to be, I don't usually take time to notice when I bite into that tangerine how that juice floods my mouth. I don't usually take the time to notice the crunch that I didn't even think a tangerine had a little bit of crunch to it, but it does have a crunch to it, right? Well, geez, maybe I don't need that bag of potato chips because I can get the crunch from a tangerine. Ooh, maybe. Anyway, what is the piece that you noticed that you didn't notice before? When's the last time you truly stayed with a bite all the way through the swallow to feel it move through your body? That's a great question, right? So we start noticing that. And in the workshop, what you would do is ask for 2 to 3 shares, just a couple people in the room. What do you want to share, right? Now, before we move on, if you have a glass of water or something to drink, just drink something to clear that tangerine out of your throat. Mm, coffee works. Now you have coffee flavor in your mouth. Anyway, so how'd that feel, right? Did that awaken anything new? Maybe not for you, but maybe for somebody who's never taken that time and that pause, right? That is a practice of awareness. That's a practice of pausing and paying attention. If I sat with the whole class and ate this whole orange, that could take me 20 minutes, but then I'm moving them into a space of having to finish it. So we set it aside and say, it will be there for you later. You can take it home with you. You can do whatever you want. So we offer that. Then that showed you why the whole orange is so important, because that peeling piece is part of the practice. So you can go back to that peel. You know what? I'll bet you there's some beautiful essential oils in this skin, right? Let me just rub it all over me. Anyway, we're not going to do that. That's another class. So the next thing I want to bring you into awareness on, if everybody's with me, um, is the potato chip one. And it's a different type of awakening. So what the potato chip practice does is it teaches us the urgency and the autopilot from that recognition that there is a craving there. That craving comes from, I need to have something salty, or I need to have something crunchy, or I need this or that. Because perhaps somewhere along the way, the potato chip was my go-to as a kid or a young adult, or even now for comfort, right? Because so many practices teach the potato chips taboo, right? It's not healthy. How could you eat that? Well, guess what? I'm going to eat it because people tell me I can't do it. But there's also that, yeah, there's some goodness. There's a good flavor there. There's nothing wrong with saltiness, but we have to notice and be aware of when I could stop. So the potato chip teaches us urgency and autopilot. And we're not judging chips as bad or good. We're studying the nervous system here. So with this, when you're ready, if you have a bag that's still sealed, I invite you to take that seal. If you don't, then pick up the one potato chip. But if that bag is still sealed, I invite you to tear that bag open real slow. Or you can cut it. You could bite it if you have to. Whatever you need to do to open that bag of chips, right? And then I invite you to take that bag and don't take a chip out just yet. Bring that bag or bring the one chip if you only have a chip to your nose and smell it. What is the scent that is there? Is it potato? Is it oil? Is it greasy? Don't judge it as good or bad. Just let it be there. And then from that bag, or if you have one, just pull out one chip. One chip. Make it a good one. Maybe not just a little nib. Make it a good chip. And then take that chip and look at it. Notice the shape of it. Turn it around in your hand. Notice the color of it and the texture. And can you identify it as a piece of a potato? A slice? Maybe hold it up to the light. Maybe you can see through it. Maybe you can't. Notice the ridges. And then I invite you to bring that one chip close to your ear and break it in half. And notice the crack. And now smell it. Did the smell change or is it still the same? Notice what your body does. Smell it again and pay attention somatically. Is there a craving there? Notice what's there. Taking a nice deep breath of that potato chip. Exhale nice and slow. And then I invite you to take that piece of a potato chip and put it on your tongue. And just hold it there for a moment and notice what's there. Put your hands down and chew slowly. Perhaps you notice the saltiness, the crunch. Is there an intensity there? And then pause mid-chew if you can, just for a moment. And notice, is there a pull to continue? And then keep chewing. Don't swallow if you don't need to. Notice when the texture becomes smooth and soft. And then swallow. And follow the swallow down into your throat. Follow it as far as you can. And then pause. And breathe. And notice what comes up next. Is there an impulse to do it again? Is the mind saying more, please? And we're not obeying yet. We're just watching it. And ask quietly, what is this bite trying to give you? Was there stimulation or comfort or numbing or relief? Or was it just a potato chip? And then I invite you to take that next piece and do the same thing. Inhale, place it on your tongue. One mindful bite. Chew it slowly. Notice the crunch and the saltiness. And then swallow when you're ready. And breathe. And then again, place your hand on your tummy. Notice what's there. And ask your body, what do I actually need now? Do you need more potato chip? Or is your mind just telling you, I want to eat this bag of potato chips because it's sitting in front of me? Open your eyes and look at it. Look at that bag of potato chips, or look at the potato chips. Do you need more? Do you want more? And do you recognize the difference between wanting and needing? And my question to you, and pay attention to this through the day, are you going to eat that bag of potato chips through the day? And my finger's not here to scold you. It's just to be aware of it, right? And then why? Well, you know what? On my table right now, I have an open bag of potato chips and I have the rest of this orange. Which one would satisfy me the most right now? I don't know. That's for you to say. But that's a great question to ask your class because you'd have people like, well, I think he wants me to say the orange, but I believe it would be the potato chip, right? Huh. Coming back and why? 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 Why are you looking to please the facilitator? If you want to eat the bag of potato chips, just have to understand why. But always come back to that practice and take that sacred pause. So when we come back to the questions here, we could ask in the class, did the chips create an urgency within you? Did it connect you to an autopilot that you would probably finish that bag of potato chips? Again, not judging it. Did the second chip feel the same as the first one? And did satisfaction peak quickly? And did you take the time to check in with your nervous system? So as you sit with this question, I'm going to ask you, what did the chip teach you just now? What is one sensation or one thing that you can take away from that little bitty chip practice? Now, taking a nice deep breath, exhale nice and easy. And whatever liquid you're going to use, clear your throat, clear your mouth. Shake your body out just a little bit. So you're not carrying the cue of that salt into the next one. Chocolate. Now, if you're allergic to chocolate, don't do this. Maybe that needs to be on your intake form. Chocolate. Now, if you've already got your chocolate open, I know you guys like to plan ahead. It's okay, but you're missing one of the pieces again in this practice. If it's still wrapped up, whatever wrap up you have, here we go. Hold your chocolate bar. If it's still wrapped up, I invite you to turn it over and look at the ingredients. What is the very first thing that it says on your package? It should say chocolate. If it doesn't say chocolate first, there's a problem here. Now, some chocolate bars might say cream or milk first. Well, that's milk chocolate, right? But I shouldn't have said shoe. I shouldn't have said should. I said should, but I shouldn't have said should. Maybe the first thing on your list is sugar. Hmm, Is that good or bad? I'm not here to say, right? Mine also says it may contain soy, almond, hazelnut, pecans, and pistachio. How's that possible? It's a chocolate bar. It says may, right? Okay. Huh. Now, if you can, tear into your package. And once you tear it, wherever you tear it, take in a nice deep breath through your nose. What is your body telling you there? Mine's telling me this is going to be good. Sit with it for a moment. Let those sensations come alive. And then when you're ready, just open it up. And if your chocolate bar is into squares or little pieces, or if not, just break off a piece. One little piece. Look at that. Nice little square. My square might be bigger than your square because this is Trader Joe's and they want you to eat more chocolate. Anyway, now smell that. That's good if you like chocolate. So we're going to sit there. Look at the color. Look at the edges of it. Look at the surface. And then, depending on the size of your chocolate, you might want to break it into a smaller piece because we're going to place this on our tongue. So take that and place it on your tongue. Don't chew it yet. Put it on your tongue. I can't do it because I can't talk and do this at the same time, which really sucks because I want this. Anyway, and notice when it settles on your tongue, what do you notice first? Is it bitter, sweet? Is it earthy or smoky or fruity or chocolatey? And then let it melt on your tongue for a moment. And as you do, notice what happens in your tummy, in your chest, and your mind. And then just chew it nice and slow, nice and slow. What do you notice in the sensations? Is there a smoothness or a creaminess? Can you feel the crunch? Can you feel the texture changing? Don't keep it in your mouth longer than you need to. Just go ahead and swallow. But as you swallow, follow it down. Let your body settle and notice what happens there. And then just pause and breathe. Before you turn to that next little bite, ask yourself, do you feel satisfied? Or do you feel your mind pulling you to take that next hit? Am I craving more? Or did I get what I need? We can place a hand on the tummy and ask again, what's here for me? When it comes to chocolate, what would feel like enough? Is enough finishing that chocolate bar? Or is enough just having that momentary bite? Where I satisfied my craving for something sweet and creamy. And if you choose, you can take one more small piece, but only if the answer is a true yes and not a craving or a need. And then you can allow yourself to meet that second piece of chocolate slowly again. Or you can just sit with the sensation of your body in the moment. And as you sit with that chocolate, did you notice that that bite satisfied you or moved you into a space of urgency? What did it make you feel like? Did it bring you comfort or satisfaction? Did your mind quiet or speed up? Did you move into questioning, what should I do next? What should I do next? What should I do next? Or did you just allow yourself to be with that delicious chocolate? When's the last time you slowed down that much? When's the last time you didn't just devour that whole little chocolate bar? Hmm. Now, when you're ready, taking a nice deep breath. Exhale nice and easy, and just rinse your mouth out again. So, in our practice, one of the biggest pieces of this practice is that pause. In SVMT, we call that the sacred pause, right? That sacred pause before the bite in the portal on your and in your workbook. There is a meditation on that sacred pause. It is a 10-second meditation where you just sit for a moment, think about the food you're about to eat, take in that nice deep breath and exhale nice and slow, and take that first bite. We want it to be a mindful bite, and that's one of the cues that we're teaching in this workshop. And it's always coming back into that practice before we text the next bite and the next bite. This is the practice. One of the best ways to help a client or yourself practice the pause is after you take a bite, if you used a spoon or a fork or whatever it might be, put it in your mouth, set that fork down, place your hand back in your lap or set it at your side to create an opportunity to stop doing this. In the practice of mindful eating, we recognize that there is a steam shovel effect that just happens right here. If we're having a conversation with somebody, if we're watching our favorite TV show, maybe you're watching The Real Housewives, Melissa, and you're just sitting there shoveling the food in your mouth, right? We saw that post today. Anyway, the steam shovel effect is an absolute part of our autopilot. We're just doing this, right? But if you stop, place the fork down, place your hand on your lap, it disconnects that one trance practice, right? Now, take it even further before you pick up that utensil again, take in that nice deep breath and exhale and say, do I need more? And that practice allows us to slow down and tune into the body. It is a practice. So, in the practice of that worksheet, it's a 7-day journey for having your clients practice themselves for 7 days. Um, it's the practice of coming back into this space. Um, it's really important. So, as a facilitator, we would talk about how we want to train our clients or teach them a practice of a pre-meal arrival or a pre-snack arrival that they could practice this just once a day. If we have a conversation with the group, maybe there's 4 or 5 people in our workshop. What is the one time that you find yourself most likely to go on autopilot? Is it a work break? Is it when you're setting up in the morning? For those of you that have kids, I don't know how you do it. You have to nourish yourself while you're making them lunch and all this other stuff. But if that's the one, then we set up with a pre-meal arrival where we ask them to practice for 60 seconds, feeling their feet touch the floor, feeling their body breathe, coming into paying attention to the sensations as they sit for a few moments and practicing that. And then the other piece in that workbook or in our portal is going to say we practice once a day, 3 mindful bites, especially at the start of one meal. Taking that mindful bite, just like we did with that chocolate or that potato chip or that orange, noticing all the sensations and paying attention to the cues of the body and doing that 3 times in a row. And that's going to train that, it's going to start to break the cycle, break that autopilot response of just the steam shovel. And then the third piece we would train or teach is a jaw and belly tracking, where we take 3 breaths when we have a craving hit, that craving for that piece of chocolate cake that's in the refrigerator, or um, that container of yogurt, or that ice cream, or whatever it might be. Place your hand on your tummy, feel the position of your jaw, and taking those 3 breaths together. That's part of our practice. And so ultimately, this is a practice of teaching different things. And so that's what this workshop is all about. So here we are. I invite you all to take in a nice deep breath, to exhale nice and slow, and think about how you feel. Think about anything you might have discovered or anything you already knew that we just reinforced. I finally get to eat my chocolate. Hmm, yum, yum. Uh-oh, I'm going too fast. Hmm. Well, that tasted fruity. Anyway, nice. So with that, that's a workshop. Now I went rather fast, right? I didn't ask you guys we would have those opening sharing moments in between each one of those practices, right? If your class feel called to, right? And once you break that, somebody speaks first, then you can have that usually opens up the floor to other one to share. So that would probably extend out obviously quite a bit longer because we'd have their sharing moments. But I know you guys love to share. So we'd be here till like 3 o'clock in this afternoon. So we didn't do that here. But anyway, so that's an example of a workshop that's going to be open for you. Again, it's paying attention to all the different resources that are there to go with you, to recognize the possibilities that come from a practice like this, and to see how, this is where you can meet your community and offer something that's going to be so supportive. Again, it's not teaching somebody tools to help them diet, but if you start doing that practice, wouldn't it ultimately lead that client to eat better or make better choices? But also when you sit with that, you start awakening and recognizing the autopilot responses that we have so much in our life. And that really leads into the SVMT method, right? How we can pause and have those sacred pauses before we do so many different things. So yeah, that's what I got to share there. Hmm. Now I open up the floor to any questions or comments or concerns or whatever. Huh. It's an invitation, not an obligation. Janine.
First, I want to thank you because this is like perfect timing for me because I do a lot of mindless eating. I live alone and I have nighttime eating that I know that I have to talk to myself about, you don't need this, it's too late. You don't need this, you're not hungry. So this is so perfect that I'm going to do it for myself and then I'm going to bring it to my community because I've done it first. So thank you for that. I'm so excited.
Yay. That was my intention to get somebody excited. Yeah, and it's important to recognize that we want to do our best to keep ourselves from moving into a space of blame or shame. We want to recognize when it comes back and say, wait, you know what? I have a choice now. And that should inspire me to break that cycle of shame because heck, don't know about you, but when I start to feel ashamed, I want to reach for something to make me feel comfort. And so that this allows us to break that cycle, right? Good job. Thank you. And I look forward to hearing how it goes for you. Rolanda.
Hi. So I really like this. I had to improvise because I can't have oranges, so I used an avocado, but I still got to peel, and when you were talking about, pay attention to like the pattern like for the fascia, I was still able to like, dive into it. But you also, well, I didn't eat this morning. So when I was putting my hand on my belly and like, am I just craving this or am I hungry? It really helped me like pay attention to exactly what my body was saying. And then having to decide between the chips, the avocado, and the chocolate, which order would I go in? It also brought up how my parents would say, well, you have to eat your main before you can have your dessert and all of that. So yeah, I really like this. I really like this.
Yay. I think it's important to recognize that patterning, right? So, what is our ultimate goal? Change the script, shift the pattern, and recognizing we can make different choices instead of falling into the same old habits and routines that most of us have carried for decades. And again, it's not about shaming, it's being aware and moving in a space like, okay, I know this now. I didn't know that before. Yeah, it's great. Thank you. Eileen.
Yeah, I thought it was great. This is not one that I was thinking I might want to offer, actually. So I didn't know how fantastic it was, but what a difference. What a beautiful choice, tool choice to give to clients. And I mean, I eat because I'm in a rush. My potato chip bag I had to put over there away from my reach because that's my problem. But yeah, I feel like this is just going to be such a awesome tool for people who struggle, not just with food, but almost anything in a way, but with the food to smell it, to enjoy it, and that meditation, the pause, the um, it gives clients a way to think differently about what they're doing and just be in the moment with their food. So I think it's beautiful. I'm excited to teach it, offer it now. I
Good.
wasn't gonna.
I love it. I love it. And like obviously, like I said, you can take it and change it, to suit your client's needs or what you would work with. And there's a version of this that could be, we could call it mindful consumption. And what is that? How are we watching our devices? What are we connected with? And it doesn't sound as it sounds more challenging than mindful eating would be, but we can also within the workbook. And the workbook that I put up today isn't the final product. It was a test as I went through this to really get a feel for what was going to be there. But I think there's some different tangents we could go on where we could say, now, as you recognize this with food, think about how you're using your devices or what are your habits through the day, or what are the things you do to comfort yourself in when you're feeling stressed in your own, because we can recognize the eating perspective isn't just food we put in our mouth, is what are we listening to, what are we watching, what are we surrounding ourselves with. And so this could be the bridge that opens up the doorway to have a conversation about the consumption of energy from our devices and our practices. And so, but thank you, I'm glad you liked it.
And
Troy.
gongs, consumption of gongs.
No, we don't go there. Don't cross the line, lady. Troy?
Wendy and I practice this a couple times a week with different things, and I have to invite everyone to, if you can eat strawberries, mash some of those up in a little bit of ice cream. And strawberries have seeds on the outside of them, and when you get down to just try to find the seeds and taste those strawberry seeds, and they'll crunch in your mouth. It's pretty amazing, but just take the time to try to find those seeds on the strawberry, and taste those and try to experience those. But so
That's pretty cool. I've never done that. Huh. Next
it,
time we'll have
it
to
yeah,
do
it
it with
works
strawberry.
best like if you have them in ice cream, because that gooiness of the ice cream helps separate them out. But
You had you had me at ice cream. Thank you. Jennifer.
So when you first posted this, I read it and we did it at dinner. We went out to dinner and we went to a seafood restaurant, and we actually spent like I don't know, we were there for like 2.5 hours. It was- and we did that with like everything that we had from our cocktail and from the appetizer, with the texture of the food and like the texture of the shrimp. And then when the salmon came out, the texture of how it's cooked when it's medium rare, and then when it's cooked when it's a little bit more well done. So this is a really fun course. I look forward to giving it.
Yay. I
Yeah, make
appreciate
a
that.
whole dinner of it. It's really
Hey,
interesting when you
hey,
do it that way.
if you do it with your partner or your family, what a great opportunity that is to connect, right? And to practice these things. And I think there's a version going to be put on the portal as like a mindful family dinner hour or something like that, where you're really um, engaged in that process of connecting to the food. So what a cool practice that is. So you guys jumped ahead and did it. Thank you.
We did. It was good. I suggest it.
Yay. One question came up is with these workshops, as I get them finished, um, I'm going to invite you guys. You don't have to wait till August 1st to do this. There's no reason to. You have the process there. I would just give me another week with this one to sit with it and make sure all the support systems in place, because there's going to be, and you'll see it pop up because I'll invite you into it. There's going to be a student portal for this workshop that you can invite your students to come into, right, on our website. You can also take that stuff and put it on your own program if you want to. there's no requirement here. It's an invitation with the workshops. With the certification courses, you have to invite your student to our portal, but with the workshops, it's an invitation. And yeah, so there's these workshops, you're not going to be required to wait. I would just ask you to wait till I have you'll see it pop up, and I'll put a message on the affiliate portal that says the mindful eating workshop is ready for you guys to use, right? And it'll be very quick. I'm traveling this week, which means I'm on Tuesday, I'm like at the airport for probably hours on end. So I'm probably just going to finish it up right while we're there. Yeah, so you don't have to wait. That was the question. Sandy.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. So my question with the portal, when we do the certification, we're going to be able to give them access to the students to the portal ourselves.
Here's what's going to happen is you're going to have there's going to be a designation on the portal as there's the host, there's a teacher, and then there's a student, right? So you're going to have host abilities, and the host can invite your students into certain classes, right? Beyond that, you can't do anything. You can't change the courses or anything, which you understand that. But that's going to be that space. When it comes to the certification courses, though, what you're going to be able to invite your students into the introductory course. When it comes to the other ones, they won't be invited in until you send Sherry the message that says they've finished their certification, right? So the sound certification and the vibrational certification, the portal's not open to them till they finish the in-person training, which we usually do. I think we started letting people come in about the second day of the training, but I think for the affiliates, we want to make sure that the students actually finish before they come into the portal and get all that information. Because if you have a student that doesn't show up and you forget, then they have access to all the lessons that, yeah. So yeah, I think that answered your question in a long-winded way.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, that answered my question. Thank you so much.
Jennifer.
Okay, I have a question with that. So, like, if you're doing like the mindful eating, that's a couple of weeks, are they going to be having entrance to like module 1 on the first week and module 2 on the second week? Is that how that's going to work?
It's actually going to be laid out as a 6-week. So yes, so they'll get all the modules at one time because there's so many. Just we don't want to track who's coming in at any one time. So what they're going to get is all six or seven modules. It'll say week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. So they'll get them all at the same time, if that helps. If I think that answered your question. Yeah. Yeah. What else? Our portal is going to be huge, but it's going to be organized, hopefully in a good way. Yeah. Anyway, any other questions or concerns or comments? Did you finish your chocolate? Or did you finish your bag of potato chips? Or your tangerine, which I'm trying to munch on? Janine.
Hi. I did have a question, and you may be addressing this later on, but is there going to be that guideline of how much should we, a recommendation of what we charge, like for
Yes.
a workshop that's short and week and a multiple week one?
Yeah, and I'm open to comments on this because as we think about numbers, it's just like, well, what is the number for this and what should it be? I think there's a difference in what you would charge if you were doing this in person or if you were doing it online, right? So there's that difference. But what is it, right? Is it going to be a 2-hour workshop? And in this one, you're providing food and I think I'm open to suggestions, but my first response would be probably if you were doing it online would be like a $30 workshop per person, and if you were doing it in person would probably be like a $50 workshop. I don't know if that seems too low, but it's also we come back to what is our intention on doing these workshops is to build a following, to build a connection, and so this is a great entryway. I wouldn't do it for free because then that diminishes the commitment that your client's making. But I think, yeah, I think those numbers seem right to me. I don't know. I know different areas. You also have to take in the business aspect of it. It's like how much is it costing you to rent that studio that you're taking for 2 hours, right? And if that's,
Yeah, I have a little input maybe, just based on some of the things that I've been doing. I think the first, that is fantastic pricing, by the way, I think. But really looking at what's around you in your area, because sometimes the socioeconomic condition in the area will kind of judge what is something people will do. And in these classes, you want to get people in. So if other people are charging $25 a class and you're willing to do this for $20 a person at 6:30 at night for some people to maybe reset or just have some space to come to, then maybe you want to do that for initially. And then it's a good introduction for you to, for us to just get people to come in and get a feel, because this is a fantastic, I mean, it's a fantastic feel good, different way about eating and food, and it can be used for other things. It's even something someone can take home and say to their teenager, well, why do you feel like you need to eat, I don't know, Pop Rocks? I don't even know if they have Pop Rocks anymore, but or something. Anyway, I think looking at what people are doing in the area and starting at a low price, it doesn't mean you have to stay there. Like the next time, if that was really full or a success and people are asking to fit it into your schedule, then maybe you bump it to 25 or 30. And maybe you make the class a little bit more in depth the next time. That's just my 2 cents of,
That was more like a dime to me.
okay.
Thank you. That was worth more than 2 cents. No, and it's a great perspective, right? The other thing, just think outside the box. Imagine you're doing this workshop, even if you don't have a studio. But you bring and
Mhm.
set up your gong and you bring a crystal singing bowl and you add in a little sound into your session right at the end of it or at the beginning of it. And those people who are coming to mindfully eat, they're hearing the connection to that sound bowl. And they're like, well, tell me what's that? What's that? That made me feel really good. Well, I'm doing a sound bath next week in their space if you want to join me there. There's that, right? Yeah, it's great. It's a great door opening perspective. Thanks, Eileen. Kim.
To tag on to what Eileen said, because I am in one of those areas in Lake Superior where they don't want to pay for anything. It's a different type of socioeconomic class. I don't know that I could go lower than 25 because I have to pay 30% of what I make to my studio. So there's a couple of things here. If you have your own space and you own it, then yes, you can go that low because you don't have to give anything away. And I recommend it, like Eileen said, if you're in a small town like I am, to bring the people in. If you have to pay part of it, and I go through this with the sound baths, right? I mean, I bring in 10 people, I charge 20 to 25 depending what's going on, and then I give a big chunk of that away to the studio. So the smaller town you live in, the harder it is to price what our value is. And Bill, you and I talked about that in our one-on-one, which is why I'll be changing locations and being willing to travel and branch out and try to get some of that money back, right, at a decent rate. But Eileen, I hear you. I deal with it every time I have an event. I mean, they want free all the time, and I don't get free. I don't get free space. I have to pay monthly rent in my Reiki room. I have to pay the 30% in the community room. So the pricing's going to be I'm probably going to have be a little salty at first, and I'm going to have to go super low, especially if I'm providing oranges and chips or whatever. But I get it. But there's other locations, right? I can travel for the weekend and then try to recoup all of that. But that I think some of us are going through right now. I mean, living up in Bayfield, there's no one up here for 8 months out of the year, and the locals just don't understand the value and the price point of what we have to offer. So I'm gonna be going through that too, Eileen. What's a proper way to price it where I want to keep doing it, right? Not just giving it away.
I think you also have that opportunity to offer it at a lower end, and then people will see the value. Wow, this I got a lot out of this. And then the next time they'll be like, okay, I might be willing to pay an extra $10 for the next one. And then because people don't know what they don't
Yes,
know. And so all of a sudden you've done this beautiful workshop, like I got a lot out of this and it's changed my practices. So people, again, people don't know what they don't know. So here's this opportunity to use that as an introductory workshop that's going to move people into that space. And then the other piece, and I get questioned this a lot, is you can you can also, as you're promoting it as an in-person workshop, you can also, this is also offered online and you can do it over Zoom. I would really recommend, especially something like this that's so hand-on, don't try to do them at the same time. And I've had people tell, why don't you just broadcast live over your Zoom? But that breaks your attention away. I
right.
would do it separate. I would do the in-person first and then maybe follow that right away with the Zoom one, or vice versa. You know, there's some workshops that you could do broadcast live and Zoom at this broadcast live and do it in person at the same time. But this isn't one of them because of the interaction piece that you'll have in space. But that could help offset the cost of what you're doing for the in-person, because
Yes,
to do it online doesn't cost you basically anything. So yeah,
right.
good stuff. Uh,
Also, sorry, Kim,
that's okay.
how about you ask your people to bring their own orange and chip
Good
bag
to know.
and chocolate? That might
Yeah,
help.
and I will do that, and I will also have extras for those that
Mm.
forget. So yes, I try to do that with my other immersions, and sometimes they remember, sometimes they forget. So I actually, at the end of the month at their community center, I am doing a 2 hour session on vibrational therapy for the locals. So hopefully that will bring them in, and that, I volunteer that because it is for a lower, end. And I'm going to bring in all my tools and stuff, and I'll throw the mindful eating out there as a workshop coming. So sometimes you have to give them something for them to want to pay for something else. So I was thinking about that with the oranges and the chips and the chocolates, but we'll see how that goes. But I'll make sure I have stuff on
Yay.
hand as well.
Excellent. Thank you. Melissa, we can't hear you. Sorry. Your mic is off. There you go.
Okay, thought I pressed it. Hi guys.
Hi.
Um, I think this is situational. I think as far as what our price points should be, there's so many different factors involved. But I do think that when you price it at a point where there's value to it, I think there is just a higher commitment. If you live in an area where people are willing to pay and you're not desperate for people, um, I just find that the commitment level is there, and this is an exchange of energy. This is our time. This is, you know, our passion. And I just think sometimes when we price it so low consistently, um, that we're not really, doing what we're doing the best that we can. I just think that we have definite value in what we're doing. And you might be surprised if you do price it a little higher, because I would be the person that would see the price point low and engage in that, and then see it go up and be like, well, maybe I don't want to do that now. Just food for thought, depending on where you are and what your particular situation is.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And that comes back into that. By the way, where are you?
I'm in Tempe, Arizona, hanging by the pool.
Looks rough there. It looks really rough there. I'm sorry for
It's
you.
so rough.
I
It
was
really
hoping it
is.
was a backdrop, but I'm jealous now.
It's not a
Nah,
backdrop.
it's for real.
That would be funny if it was a fake backdrop and you're laying there in your
Yeah,
bikini.
here I am.
Anyway, it absolutely is situational, and we have to take that into consideration. But I'm 100% because fortunately I live in a place in an area that people are willing to pay. In fact, if it's too low price, people are like, "Well, why are you so cheap?" Right? This isn't worth my time. I found that very quickly with the gong baths and stuff. People are willing to pay, but not every community is like that, and so you work within that. And um, if you're in a community that doesn't have it, you need to move. Sorry, Kim. I know I just said that because I know we talked about that yesterday. No, you meet your clients where they are, but it's really that's why it's such a subjective thing. But I always come back to the value is in our time and in our commitment, and we oftentimes have to educate people what that value is. So if this is the very first workshop we're offering, how do we educate that by getting them in the door? And yeah, so we have to find that thread that needle carefully. Because as Melissa said, if all of a sudden your next workshop you did one for $20 and the next workshop you're charging 75, it's like, well, what the heck happened there? All of a sudden you're too good for your own britches. So you think you're worth more than you got to be careful because that triggers people too. So yeah, thank you for that. Jennifer.
I was going to add to that. It also puts the value of your education and all the training that you've had. So if you go and start things because you don't think your town is going to pay for it, I live in a very small town. And, I was struggling with that in the beginning, but really, I had a very good person who's on this call have a nice conversation with me about my value. And, you've spent a lot of money on these courses, you've spent a lot of time on these courses. And so just because you might think that your town is not going to be acceptable to that, that's really not the case. I mean, because then you're showing that this is how much it's going to cost for me to do this, and you're welcome to come. Now, with that said, you can always offer um, uh, what a scholarship, or for those that can't really afford it. But there are quite a few people that would be willing to put money forth to do it. And then when they put money forth to do it, they're more wanting to do it because they put money into it, and so if they just put $20, they're going to be like, oh, it's just $20, I don't really have to do it. But if they are going to put 35, $50, they'll be more willing to say, oh, I'm going to go to this. And so, value your time and value your education, because it took a lot to get you here.
It took a lot to get you here, for sure.
It absolutely did.
Yeah.
And it's
And
still continuing, so
well, and I can tell you, even from that perspective, here it's everything that you can do to host this workshop. There's a value in that because that's a lot of time just to set up this workshop and create the pieces that they're going to have access to. So there's definitely value there. It's not just the 2 hour workshop. It's all the support that comes with that. So, but again, when you're doing it for the very first time, people don't know you. How do you get that message out there? And I think I like the idea of somebody who says, "Oh my gosh, I can't afford that." Then you come back and say, well, what can you afford? And then you offer that. That person, that sliding scale can be very helpful too. Janine.
So as we grow, one of the things that I've actually learned, because in the beginning I did price I think I underpriced myself, which now 2 years later, 2.5 years later, it has evolved. And I've had places that, wanted, when I first set up, they got a great deal because I did bundle pricing, because here I was new and I'd rather have three setups than just one time going. So as it evolved, my prices raised every year, and not out of the norm, but this one place that I had in the beginning wanted me to still give them the same price. Meanwhile, I've got places that book me every single week, and they were paying, you know, more than that of what they wanted. So I had to, it was my first time about a year and a half ago to say no to somebody's business. And so we have to be comfortable with that because you know what? 6 months later, the community was asking to have me back. And guess what? They had to pay that price. And, you know, they still tried to negotiate with me. And I said, no, this is my price. I said, unless you want to book me, you know, more often, then we can talk about bundle pricing. But finding your value, and I know for me, it took me a little while, but, you know, the people that are meant to be in your community and in your circle will come. So just trust that because, yeah, we have the value, we have the training. We're not just a side business that, you know, we've all spent a lot of money and time, and, you know, what we bring to the table is value. So just keep that in yourself, and the right people will come and pay that price. Took me a while to learn that. I'm still learning.
Yeah, we're all still learning, right? Thank you. Becky.
Hey everyone. So I'm standing outside. My husband's competing at Indiana's Strongest Man this weekend. So is my stepdaughter.
Yay.
To the topic of pricing. I read a story once about a man who charged an astronomical amount of money to fix large cargo ships. And he gave his rate. And the people who were saying yes or no to that said, no, that was too expensive. They paid 3 other people and the problem didn't get fixed. This guy came in, they agreed to his rate finally, and he fixed it in 20 minutes. Was it only a 20-minute problem, or was his education level and experience that knew how to fix that in 20 minutes where the value was? We bring a level of value that is not commonplace in the sound and vibrational field. We have to hold not only to our own education, our own standards, but the standards that you set for us and the platform you've given us to teach from.
Yay. You've gotten all these little
I see
things
that.
flying around the room. Like, whoa. That's like, whoa, the room just blew up.
So
Good
we are
job.
charging not only for our value, but your value because you put the material together for us. You taught us how to present it.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's great. And that comes back into the whew,
And the
mind your
portal.
business.
I mean, to have the portal available after any teachings we have, my gosh, that's worth the money there alone.
Yeah. Thank you.
So yeah.
Yay. Thank you, as always.
Thank you, Becky. Well said.
All right, you all. Look at us. This was fun. I didn't know how this was going to go, but it went pretty dang good. So I appreciate you guys joining in and sharing and knowing that there's more to come. And I'm excited. I'm so excited about the affiliate program just because of this right here is like we're coming together as a community of teachers who are going to support each other on this journey. And we're not in competition with each other. We're not trying to get to have the loudest voice in the room. We're here to support each other because all of our success is all of our success. And when we come together in community, it's the ultimate intention of our school, of our community, of building this community. And I'm so honored to be able to hold space for you all in this way. And I trust that this is just obviously just the beginning. There's so much more to come. And I feel such liberation in being able to say, when I post these workshops in the workshop portal piece, once I say all's clear, just know you can start. All's clear, but nothing's clear yet. So, like I said, I mean, you could start, but you're not going to have all the support that is really part of the value of this workshop, and it will be there very quickly. So, all will be clear when it's clear. But until then, bite your tongue, eat your chocolate, eat your tangerine, eat your potato chips mindfully. Anyway, all right, you all. Thanks for joining. Oh, Kim.
One
Sorry.
more question. And you're going to
Mhm.
let us know when this is ready for us to start
I will
pushing
put out
it.
a
You said
big
another week or so?
fireworks display.
Good. Thank
It'll be
you.
a post on the portal, but it'll just be like, you're ready. You can see it as a big fireworks display. And then I'm looking
All
forward
right.
to seeing how you guys share it. So
Can you please include fireworks with that, Bill?
Yes.
I'll do my best. Is it legal in your in your area? No, I'm not going to do it there. It doesn't matter if it's illegal. People do it anyway, don't they? Anyway, so all right. Have a beautiful weekend, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you all. Have a good week. Bye bye.